Good afternoon, everyone. Let's come back to this next video number 5. This is Vinod Kumar from Excel Snippet, your YouTube channel. We are starting a series of videos on Excel Beginner Series 1.0 and Excel Beginner Series Training Program. I'm representing iSelf Academy, and in today's class, we are about to see how to enter data or create a template of data. In the previous session, I've started about it, but as the data are becoming too bigger, I don't want to overlap a lot of things in one video itself. So I have to abruptly cut that particular video as a shorter video. And this video is going to be for all users on most of the occasion. But if you are a 2016 and 19 and Office 365 user, probably this Power Query import might work effectively. If you are a 2010 or a 13 version person, you have a free add-ons to download into your system, and you can use this Power Query options even in the 10 and 13 version. But we don't have the version of Power Query available in 2007 version and below versions. So when I feed a data, as I said earlier, I can manually feed them, and now I'm going to create a template using an autofill option and a fill series option. If you are creating an attendance sheet for 20 employee or 30 employee, probably that's a very small information. Or if you're trying to create maybe a HSN code or a universal number, or you want to name your customer or a vendor with a particular code, for this fill series will be very useful. And I'm going to use small 1 or 2 formulas in here, which is again a text functionality. So we'll see how to do that. So let us start with adding a brand new sheet. To add a brand new sheet, I'm going to give Shift F11. So as usual, it is going to add sheet before my active sheet. Then I'm going to just drag that to the rightmost part of it, and I'm going to rename the sheet as autofill. So here, what is an autofill? So when you want to add a number, and if your numbers are very small, you are not having a number which is larger in data structure, then I will be using an autofill option. Even I will be using an autofill option. We have a lot of other way to do it, but this is the easiest way to do it, and many Excel users know this by default. They happily use this option. And again, what kind of an error that you will commit when you do such a data? So for example, what people will look forward is when they give a 1 and they want to increment the number like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on until 10. What mistakes generally an autofill person does, or an initial user of an Excel application do, is they will try to feed the 1 value and then they started using the autofill option here. To use an autofill option, you can see that there is a small arrow mark right now. Now you can see that there is a cursor point which is giving a bigger plus. I'm going to take to the tip of my cell. You can see that the big plus will convert into a small plus. So it will become a darker one. It's white, it's black. So when I drag right now, this particular data will be filled all around the list. If you want an increment number, if you want a serial number to be generated, probably this is not the right way of doing it. So how do I use an autofill? Autofill, I have to use more than once. So I would say first 2 options, so that the system understands the pattern of it. Excel understands the pattern of your numbering. Then when you drag it out, then that going to give you your answer. So now you can see that it gives you an answer to whatever the number that you have dragged. The autofill option is one of the special options. So you can tell the system what pattern of number that you would like to have. For example, I want a number which is the increment of 5s. I can still do that using a full series option. So you can see that the system understands it. But again, you have to minimum type 2 numbers here to make the autofill very effective. If you do feed only one number, probably your autofill may give the same number again. So that may not really what you're looking for. So when you're feeding a number in a chronological order or in a number which is ascending or a descending order, you want an incrementation of a number, you can do all of that. But again, you have to tell the system that you are going in a particular pattern. So the system understands your pattern and then it gives you the answer for you accordingly. First two numbers that you type, that sets the tone for you. So once that sets the tone for you, then you can do whatever you want. The autofill option is one of the finest options if you are having a very small set of numbers to be added. That's the best way to do it. But again, I will not conclude that if you want to do a numbering with a particular pattern in it, you have to use autofill. I won't say so. I will say it's better you use a fill series option. If you have a larger number, let's say you are sitting as an HR in a company and you are going for a recruitment in multiple colleges and you have selected around 1,000 candidates or 10,000 candidates and so forth. Now you want to give a serial number and then get their name typed and or whatever the data entry option that you want to do, you can do that. If you want to give them an employee number, then you can use a fill series option. Again, I'm not going to use fill series option alone. I'm about to use the combination of two components. So let's say I want to say employee ID. So the employee ID comes with the department, maybe comes with the company and so on. So if you are joining in my company and if I say so that I'm having a list here, I say IS/HR. This is the HR's employee ID number. Then if they are admin people, I say IS/AD. If they are sales department, then I'll say IS/SA. And so on. So now I can feed this once and I can fill the numbers here. Remember, when you fill the number, you cannot prefix some number into it. For example, generally people start with a 0001. Whenever I type something in Excel like this, Excel don't understand the zero that is prevailing before. When I give an enter, zero will be vanished. It will only give you the number called. If you want to do that, you can do that. But again, when you do such scenario, you cannot keep them as a numerical value. Probably that's the disadvantage that we have in Excel if you want a prefix number or something like that. So if you're giving 101, it's not a problem for us. 10, 101 or 1001 or 10,001. So you can type the numbers as a following number, not as a prefix. You type prefix, the prefix goes off. So we're going to see how to handle these data better. So first of all, let's get into the logic of fill series furthermore. So if you want to add a fill series, the fill series normally can be added from the home tab. And I use the fill option and then I will give it series. This is one way I can achieve it. Or I can use a keyboard shortcut Alt EIS for 2003 version. If you're using the latest version, the keyboard shortcut will be Alt H F. Yes, this is the latest version point. Probably this may come from 2013 or maybe 10 or 7. Wherever we have the data has changed. If you go to 2003 version, this is more into a drop-down menu option. It is not a ribbon option. So it gives you a data and a drop-down option. Again, those who are want to use 2003, that's a very rare scenario. No, I don't think any people would even know that there is a version of 2003 exists. But the advantage that we have is when you go to any version about 2007, you get a ribbons as you see on top. So you can see that. You can see it on top. So in our next session, I'll just give you a small idea about how the menus are going to look like, and I'm going to just give you a small idea right now. So if you go for a file tab, this is the only tab which covers the entire Excel sheet. We call this as backstage menu. So when I click the file tab, you can see that the entire Excel is hidden. The file will come to the entire list. But if I do that in any other menu, the menus will be open as a ribbon on top. It won't be coming down. You can just see your Excel sheet whatever you typed, but your menus are moving forward. So this is how the data works for us compared to your file tab and your other tabs. So when I say the home tabs are moving, and you can see a ribbons coming on top of it. In the 2003 version, you will get a drop down from the list. When you click, you get a drop down there. You have to select all your data structures. So that's why the 2003 was a little different Office software compared to the latest versions. The latest versions have ribbons in it. The earlier versions doesn't have a ribbon as such. So it has a drop down menu in it. My favorite was 2003, but I cannot keep them as favorite forever. So as the new versions are coming up, I have to keep upgrading it so that I can do something better in Avast. So let's see how to work with the fill series. I've just shown you how to work with the autofill option. Let's go for a fill series. So as I told you, I have two keyboard shortcuts here. Here, the system understands the pattern better. So you don't want to type two numbers here. Just type one number, that will do. So just if you want a header, feed the header here, give the first number, give an enter, place your cursor on top. The fill series option wants the first number to be fed because it cannot give you the number by itself. So the first number has to be given by you. You have to manually feed them. Later on, you can feed the subsequent numbers. How do you want it? So as I told you earlier, I can go for a fill series option by going to the home tab, and I can click the fill option and I can go back to the series. Then it gives you a small pop-up here. To get this pop-up, these are the shortcuts that are used. Instead of going to the home tab, fill button, go to the series, get this done. This is going to take a little more time normally than if you know the shortcuts. So if I have a shortcut here, I'm going to say Alt EIS belongs to 2003 version, you get the same box. If I say Alt H FIS, it's going to give you the same answer. So the navigation portion will be a little different compared to the latest version and the old version. Again, the old version shortcut still works for us. The Alt EIS do works for us. So I'm going to say Alt EIS, what pop up. Then it asks you a multiple question in it. So how do you want to add your number? Would you like to add the number to your rows or columns? I say I'm going to add the numbers to my columns. So I'm going to move my cursor to the column. You can either use a mouse here or I can just give Alt C, the rows is converted into a column. When I deal with numbers, I'm not going to worry about any other thing other than the columns. Then I'm going to jump to the step value. In the step value, how do you want to increment your number? Would you like to see the number that I've filled in my autofill like that? You want a number, then you have to feed the step value differently. If you want a sequential number, then you have to keep the step value as 1. And at last, you can feed the value. So now I'm going to have a larger number. Let's say, let me put the numbers in a higher prospect, like I'm going to add up 17,580. Give an enter, boom, you can see that it's applying throughout the list here. So you can see the numbers are coming continuously until 1 to 17,508. A fill series not only works in a serial number dimension, it can be adding a date. So I want a daily date here for maybe 1 year or 2 year or 5 year or whatever it is. I can do that. So I want to have a date starting from 1/1/2014 to 31/12/2020. So I just type the first date and then I just move my cursor on top. Now I want to fill this number until 31st of December 2020. To do that, I'm going to press Alt EIS again. That's my keyboard shortcut to pop up my fill series box for the pop-up. I'm going to give Alt C, tab it until the last line. Here I cannot give a number here because I don't know after 4 years what will be the number. 365 days, sometime it will be 366 days and so on. So I don't want to do anything funnier, so I'll just add the date and the year. You can do the last 2 digits of the year, or if you want, type all the 4 digits of the year. It's up to you. Now when I give an enter, you can see that it populates the 4-year number of days continuously. But I don't want all days in the 4-year. I need only the weekdays. I need Monday to Friday to populate here, not the Saturdays and Sundays. So I work in a US pattern of work styles. So Saturday, Sundays are default all days for us. We work only 5 days a week, blah 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 and all. So let me just add a list here, and I'm going to say Alt EAS, and then I'm going to say in the day unit, I'm going to select a weekday function. Then I add my last date of the list. So you can see that automatically my dates are switching. So immediately you might have a small question here. So how do you say that 1/1/2014 lies between Monday to Friday? So this is where my first formula again, another text formula going to work for me. So I'm going to use a function here called text. Then I'm going to select my date here, give a comma, and I need a date here or a day name here. So I'm going to give in a double quotes. I'm giving a condition to the system to tell me what is the day it is. So I can give a small 3Ds or a capital 3Ds here, which is going to give you the abbreviation of the day, like month, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sun, Thursday, something like that. If you want a complete day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so on, then you can add 4Ds here, close your bracket, and give an enter. Now you can see that it shows it's the first day of 2014 falls on Wednesday. So I'm going to copy this. I want to populate this for all the 4 years. This is where the real big thing comes into play. People will manually drag everything, or they will do a lot of things here. If your data is continuous, you have two super options to work on. The one is you will do the autofill option. So whatever I did here, I just did it for only 10 lines. And I dragged it manually because I don't know what is the last number here. But in here, I know what is the last number in my date. So I'm going to just bring my cursor to the Wednesday and place my mouse to the tip of my data and give a double click here. Then it populates for the entire data until the last line. This is going to be very faster for us. Don't want to drag it. You can do it one more way also if you wanted to. So instead of doing this, if you want to do this, I can copy this, and I want to find out the last active cell. I cannot do that in my current cursor point because when I say last active cell, I don't have a last active cell because all the lines are blanks here. Below Wednesday, everything is blank. But I know the last line for the date. So I'll move my cursor to the left hand side. And if I want to jump to the last day, I use a keyboard shortcut here, control arrow down. Then it jumps to the last line. Now I want to come back to the first line again. So I'm going to move this arrow to the right. Then I want to jump, not just jump, I need to select and jump. So I'm going to say shift, control, arrow up. It selects the whole list here. Now it is copied now. You can see that the copy icons are, there is a small dotted lines that surrounding my Wednesday. So I'm going to just give an enter here. That populates my data. So this keyboard shortcuts is slowly but surely. You can see that. Now you can see that you don't see a Saturday and Sunday here. Again, don't ask me how can I get a week ends in a fill series. You won't get it. You have to find out that. So to find out that, what I'll do is I will just come back here. I'm going to do the same formula here. Now this is the getting started shortcut I'm using again. So I'm selecting the whole column. Control plus adds a new column to me. Then I'm coming here. I'm going to say equals text. Select the date, comma, double quotes, give 4Ds in here, close the bracket and control enter. Now double click this autofill and you get all your days here. If you are using 2010 version below, probably when you filter it out, you have a problem of adjusting it. But if you're using above 2010 version, it's very easy. So I'm going to just say day, then I'm going to add a filter to it. So I will be keep on taking all these filter classes and others thing little later. I'm just making you to be a little more proactive here. So I'm just adding a lot of things here faster. So don't worry about it if you couldn't able to follow it. Anyway, we have a separate video for filters here because I'm trying to add a lot of things. I don't have a scripted audio here, so I'm just going with the flow of what I'm training right now. So I'm going to just take up this and Saturdays are ready. So now I want to copy this to another sheet. So I'm going to select the whole list. Shift control right arrow or down arrow. Control C to copy it. Add a new sheet to it and paste it here. You'll get all your weekends at this list for the 4 years that I've fitted here, or maybe 6 years or more, like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. I gave a 7 years of data, so 7 years data statistics are copied here. Now I don't want this filter anymore, so to remove the filter, however I've added it, the same way I'm going to remove the filter, so I'm going to just place Control Shift L. So I'll just give you a small hint here, add or remove filter, Control Shift L. This is the easiest way of doing it. I started when I learned filters, I used this shortcut, Alt DFF. But later on I have understood the Control Shift L is far easier to use because I'm going to use only one hand to achieve it. Alt DFF, sometimes we may do a mistake when we try to feed a filter. So this is how I create the fill series weekday function. If I want for a year or a month, I can still do that. I will create a month here. So I'm going to say 1/1/2020, Alt EAS fill series, and then column, then convert this into a month, give the final day of the year. You can see all the dates first day are coming up here. And you can do even a year, so I'm going to just take the year a little differently. So I'm going to take the year from 2001. Again, I want the year to come into play. I'm just using the same keyboard shortcut again and again and again. The only thing is I'm switching my date unit accordingly. If I want a daily, I'm going to use day. If I need a weekday, I'm going to use a weekday. If I need a month, I'm going to use a month. If I'm going to need a year, I'm going to use a year here and give an enter, so I can see that it populates 20 years of data for us. So this is how I'll use autofill and fill series option. So now I'm going to give one of the beautiful topic. This is called Power Query. If you want to import data, you're not going to feed the data anymore. So people say that you already have a data in a particular format, and you're going to take the data, put it inside the system. That's it. So this is what we are about to do. So this is what we call it as importing of data in Excel. So instead of feeding manual data, we import data into it. Again, when I say import, it's a separate logic that I need to teach for at least 20 hours. It's a very big scenario to go forward. And if you are learning, and this importing technique that was introduced in 2016 version, it was there long ago, but again, this was improvised. This was made even better, even wonderful in Excel in 2013 version as an add-in, and it has become a permanent menu option now in 2016 after 1805 version. So we have a lot of versions in 2016, started with multiple versions. So we have a lot of version in 2016. I'm not very sure about the build of it, but I'm sure about that 1805 is a place where we started having the default menu of Power BI desktop and a proper menu like this. Earlier we had the older importing tools here, and then the middle you had this get and data or get and transform data coming into play. Then they removed all the other older versions of logics entirely out of the system, and they kept this as one-stop shop for all your importing of data. You have a large list here. I'm taking basic classes here, so I'm not going to give you way too much of input on this. I'm giving you a small a droplet of idea about how to import it. So let me take one small data for us, and for example, I have a data in a text structure. So for example, I have sales of 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 10 years of data with me. I don't want to manually bring that into place because they are not belong or they are not in Excel. They are in some other format. I can copy paste it, but it is going to take a lot of time for me to do that. Copy paste is one of the easiest options to do so, but I wish I don't want to do that. So instead, I would like to bring those data using a query option here, so that allows me to do things better. So now I'm just taking one of the folder here, copy, and I'm going to paste this to our list. So this is the data that I'm going to work right now, and you can see that I have 3 small data coming up here. So this is the internet data that I pulled it from one of the channel and I started using it. So this is the data that I have. I have a data month and sales here. And remember, when you are pulling a data and when you're trying to use Spark query as an option, you have to check whether the data are in one dimension. The dimension has to be similar. If you have a month and sales are the two columns that you're going to import, it should be in an order here. You cannot have sales first and month in second in one data and the other way around in another data. That may not really help you to do things better. So I'm going to teach you how to work with the Spark query point, and I'm going to come in here. Let's see how to use the Spark query options. So I'm going to go to get data. So as I've brought the entire folder into it, I cannot, or I don't want it to bring the data one by one. Instead, I can bring them all together. And this is going to be a massive part, and this is the best part of Spark query editor. So I'm going to just go back to the folder here. And here I'm going to just bring that entire folder into my list. Initially you are using the Spark query editor, it is going to take a little more time than normal. The reason behind is because it has to go to the .NET server point and it has to activate that, and the Autofill framework will be run fast, and then once it is loaded, then you can just start pulling this data into it. So now it's going to pop up your small browse button or a browse menu for you. So you can now say that where your folder lies. I kept my folder on my desktop, so I'm going to just take that into consideration. So I'm going to say okay. Then you can see that it is giving you the data for us, and it's going to open a small window for us externally. So this is the data analytic tool that is used in most of the softwares now. You go for Power BI Desktop, Tableau, Alteryx, ClickView, ClickSense, you name the technology that you use for analytics. Those are the data which takes the same data to load the data into it. So now I don't know whether the data are perfect, so I chose only the data's header here or the sheet name here. It is not showing me the entire sheet. I don't see the data into it. So I'm going to use a transform data here. That is going to take you to the new menu called Power Query Editor. And it will be a little tough for you to follow initially because we are learning it for the first time. So if you do it one or two times, it's a cakewalk for you. Then you will do it very faster. I need to extract this data here, so I don't want any other data here. You can see a lot of data are coming up accompanying my list here. What is the name of the file? What is the extension? When it is created? When it is modified? When it is actually created? And what is the attributes in it? Where the data lies? Everything is here. I need the first line alone, so I'm going to remove all the other columns here. I don't need the other columns. And I'm going to combine these data. So when I place the cursor on top, you can see you have two arrow markers up in place. This is what we call it as combined data. It's going to combine my data one below the other. So I'm going to click this, then it's going to pop up the first data alone for me. And once it pops up the first data to me, I'm happy about that. I'm going to just say okay, then it's going to populate all the other three one below the other. So now I got all my data ready. Now I'm going to just say close and load to. Then I'm going to choose my import sheet and say that please put them in A1. And you can see all my data are imported into Excel right now in a tabled format. We'll talk about these tables and all the other components as we go forward. When we go to the insert menu, I talk about pivot table and so on. I'll teach you how a table works for us. So this is how I can import a data into Excel. So now I just use the text functionality or text file. You can bring any file that you want to import, you can import it. So you have a lot of option here. You can import a database, you can import an online Azure softwares, or you can import other online services. You can even bring in data from Hadoop, big data, and a lot of other data softwares into Excel. So importing things into Excel is very easy, and it's a larger concepts to talk about. So probably in my video series 2, I will give you a small idea, and I will be doing a video on Power Pivot and Power Query soon. So we will be doing a very exclusive video component, how to deal with the data, how to work with the data, how to work with DAX functionalities. You can see a lot of things in it, and I'm going to teach you all of them as we go forward. And we told earlier for us to learn about this, but I can just give you a hint of what is it. So this is how we do our entering of data using an autofill option, fill series option, and Power Query import data option. So with this, I'll sign out with this video point, and we have one more video to go for. We are going to see the editing of data in Excel. That's going to come up next in part 3, where we know how to edit a data, how to cut up, paste, copy, how to move sheets, how to move data to one sheet to another one. You can see a lot of things how to work with it. So this is how the basic data can be handled effectively. This is Vinod signing out from Excel Snippet, your YouTube channel, representing iSelf Academy, and this is Excel Beginners Series 1.2, video number 3. Enjoy the video. I'll teach you how to work with editing of data in my next video. Wait for it. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay at home. Thank you so much.